What's up, everybody? Here we are at the library. Welcome to the first ever edition of Pip's Flight Dispatching Live from the library. Pretty cool. So glad you can join me for the next couple of hours about flight dispatching and what flight dispatching is all about. And if you have a question why your flight's delayed, well, we might be able to help answer that question. So let's take a look first off at the national air system here on our radar as we start things off on the first ever flight dispatcher. Yes, it's very exciting. Welcome in, everybody. Aviation, welcome to the first ever flight dispatcher live. And looking at the national airspace system, things are looking pretty good. As we look at our flight radar app, we've got some scattered showers here in Salt Lake City, but aren't presenting too many problems. And across the nation, we've got some rain along the border. Here, why'd you log me out? I tell you what. Flight radar, there we go. Dude, you're starting flight school on Sunday. That should be exciting. That's pretty awesome. Well, it looks like we've got some pretty good weather if you were flying today in Chicago. Taking a look at things as we look at and zoom in. Looks like pretty good weather for flight dispatching and for flying. So Television, I thought I'd start doing this, see if it is something that's entertaining. Granted, I have limited equipment right now, but since it was a rainy day, that's awesome, dude. So, good to see you. Yeah, so I figured with this program we would talk about the weather throughout the country. So if people are bored at the airport or have a question, they can tune in and check things out. So yeah, it's good to see everybody. You can see me from the library because this is where the best internet is, of course. So there you can see the picture-in-picture. Actually, let's do it that way. So now we're walking. Now you can see both of us. So you can see the radar that's going on right now. And so what type of plane are you going to be flying today or on Sunday, Patelli? While we wait for Television to answer that, looks like Chicago is in a east flow. Arrivals coming in from the west, as you can see there on our screen. Meanwhile, if we zoom back out, libraries are great indeed. I agree. Absolutely. 100%. So I want to pull up, while we have a second here, let's pull up the national airspace system, how things are looking. Not too many issues. Cessna 172, very nice, my friend. Very cool. So Boston, no big closures to report, so it's a good flying day. So if you're a dispatcher, you can sit back and relax today. Well, there's not too much going on here. As we check out DFW Plane Spotters, I know it's been a while. Welcome to the first ever PIPS Flight Dispatching Live. So if you have questions about flight dispatching or anything in the National Airspace System, feel free to reach out. But looking at things here from the radar, looking pretty good. Not a whole lot of issues. And things are pretty good. Kyle, what's up, buddy? Welcome in. Oh, very cool. It'll be out of DuPage. You know what? That was the one place I didn't plane spot when I was out there. I don't know if you saw the Milwaukee or the Chicago Executive video that I did. But yeah, I should go plane spotting. Yeah, 172 works just fine. Yeah, I know. At 150 or 152 is cheaper for sure. But, overall, that's still pretty good. So, yep, I am the cheapskate from the library, DFW. Don't be hating. It's because the internet's good here. My roommate's internet is a little bit down. Did not do Aurora. did not do Aurora Patelli. I did Milwaukee, Midway, Chicago, O'Hare, of course. But I wanted to do DuPage, and I want to get back up to Milwaukee, and then, of course, Rockford. So that's what I'm thinking. So, well, DFW Plane Spotters, I am planning on doing military. Thank you very much. The problem with military is it's unpredictable, and today it was super rainy, so I did not get a chance to do it. So I'm sorry. I'm looking right at you. I'm sorry. But as we go back to the National Airspace System right here, things are looking pretty good. And if we look at any delays or anything, things are looking pretty good here in the National Airspace System as well. And let's take a look at how things are going in Chicago O'Hare for a second. Let's look at our arrivals here. And these are so many great tools that we can look at and use as a pilot as well. So yeah, look at that, Chicago. Chicago's looking pretty good. Tomorrow around 12Z is when they have over 100 arrivals. All right, Patelli Vision, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. You know, this may work, but while I'm out of a job and was kicked out of school, I got to figure out something to do, so I thought I'd do this and see if anybody has any questions about being a flight dispatcher, or more importantly, why their flight is delayed. So if they're waiting at a terminal, a lot of times I can answer on the weather. So get it. Thank you, 18-year-old DFW Plane Spotters. I will be just fine with my tools. I don't see you starting a live stream. So yeah, the plan is I did get my laptop fixed. It broke, and that's why I was out of commission for a couple weeks. And it took $800 to fix it. And such is life. But hopefully I'll be broadcasting from Salt Lake or from where I've been spotting from doing the military base tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting here. So yeah. You've had six what? 6 delays, six something. Hi everyone, it's me, Pip, broadcasting from the library, checking out the National Airspace System, and glad you can join us, trying to whisper, so don't disturb the other patrons of the library. But got some of our tools up. Oh, 6 live streams. I'll have to check that out. I don't remember seeing one of yours. Maybe it was before I subscribed to you. But, so yeah. Pretty quiet night here across the country as we go back to radar. Things looking pretty good. Zoom in and see what's going on in the other big cities. Zoom in on Los Angeles. Of course, LAX. Looking good. The usual west flow. Take a look at this heavy. We've got FedEx 326 arriving on runway 24. So, put me in there in the corner there so you can see me in the background. Checking things out. Very cool. Well, it's good to hear you and good to see you, DFW. Very excited. Bro has gold. Bro, save your money on pizza. Hey, man, I love the gold. I'm all for it. So, I'll take this any day. I like this personal interface. So we go up the coast of San Francisco. Any delays there? No, it looks like weather is good. And we've got the arrivals on the usual runways, 28 right and 28 left. Got to get back to San Francisco and do a live stream from there. But everybody does a live stream from there, so. Thank you, DFW plane spotters. It's very nice of you to. Your sarcasm is coming through. So if we take a look at national weather, got a couple of convective segments down here in southwest Texas. But overall, there's a really annoying kid in the background. Flight following. Hello. Hello. Well, that's because I'm more entertaining, DFW. Flight following, thanks for saying hi. You know, this is something new we're trying. This is flight dispatching live, so we're going to talk about dispatching and if there are any delays. That's a pretty quiet night, though, as far as weather. We do have scattered convective segments out here in the west. So what does a convective segment means? That means possibility for thunderstorms here. So, for example, you can see you've got a convective segment right there. What are the hours for, when you mean hours, classroom hours? You need about 200 classroom hours for your flight dispatcher certificate. DFW plane spotters, yeah, I'm just north of Salt Lake in Ogden. So, yeah, as I mentioned in a previous video, I was in the hospital. And so I'm better now and just living with a friend temporarily. And let's take a look at the weather forecast for Salt Lake City. As we look at and zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah, 2354Z, winds from the south, 12 miles an hour, 12 knots, excuse me. So yeah, I'm in a city called Ogden, which is north of Salt Lake by about 30 minutes. So yeah, bring your questions about flight dispatching, and we'll talk about flight dispatching and what's going on in the world. Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, flight following. Great question. As we go back to our radio screens. I know, DFW, man. Dallas is going to turn into a desert. So we zoom back out here on the national radar. So flight following, thanks for that question. Typically, shifts will be 8 to 10 hours. There is actually a federal rule that states you can work no more, scheduled no more for 10 hours before you have to have 8 hours of rest. Now, there are emergency situations, but there is a federal regulation that states for flight dispatchers in commercial 121 operations that you are required to have be scheduled for a maximum of 10 hours. That's why usually airlines in the flight dispatch department, your flight dispatchers work typically 10 hours. Southwest, I know, does it a little bit differently. I think they have 8-hour shifts. So each airline is a little bit different, but I would budget 8 to 10. Like when I'm working, I was working 4 10s and had 3 days off. So I know Dallas set the record for temperatures. It's true. Let's check out the METAR for Dallas. Now, there's temperature currently is 100 degrees. 100 degrees at 7:26. So feel free to like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. This is something new we're trying. It's called Flight Dispatching Live since, well, I thought I'd try it. See, sometimes stuff works, sometimes it doesn't, but I also do my live streaming, like I said. Oh, the shift times are usually typically they can range anywhere from well, they're 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So, and they're typically seniority based. So if you get a job, you're probably going to be part of a union and you're going to be a seniority based schedule, most likely regardless. So you could have anywhere from a shift that's like 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. or 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. Like when I first started and when I was first out of flight dispatching, it was my shift was 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then when I got more seniority after about a couple years, I went to the afternoons and did 2 p.m. or 1:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. So great question. Yeah, keep them coming. This show is in part also for to answer questions about flight dispatching too. As we look at DFW right now, a little shower maybe in Flower Mound there, DFW plane spotters. So, and if you guys want to like and subscribe, I know this isn't as exciting as plane spotting, but this is what we do as flight dispatchers. We look at the weather, we look at traffic conditions. So, yeah, that sounds pretty close to it. So here we have the National Airspace System. Things looking good overall. Get some showers here in the west, scattered showers here, and then southwest Texas. Stop at DFW. I can't tell if you're being serious or sarcastic. Yeah, so flight following. You are correct. Piedmont is in, I think they're still in Maryland, and JetBlue is in New York, Long Island City. Connect Air, Connect Air, the airline that's supposed to be flying the Dash 8s around the East Coast, they're going to be in Western Massachusetts, I believe. Other than that, most of your, yeah, Salisbury, yeah. Most of your flight, yeah, so they're scattered throughout the country. Like United's in Chicago. Here we go. Here we go, DFW plane spotters. So let's run down the list. United is in Chicago. PSA, Regional Airline for American, is in Dayton, Ohio. I'm going to pull up a different screen here. Take a look at the National Airspace System. Things looking pretty good. So Dayton, Ohio for PSA. FedEx is in, of course, Memphis. UPS is in Louisville. Atlas Air is in Cincinnati. Then as we go down the coast, Fort Lauderdale, Spirit. Spirit actually has two operations center, one in Orlando and one in Orlando and then Fort Lauderdale. And then Alaska's in Seattle. GoJet, I'm not sure where GoJet is. Republic's in Indianapolis. Chicago has United. Dallas has Southwest. Dallas has three airlines that are headquartered there. Dallas has Southwest Airlines, American, and Envoy. And then if you go towards the west, Mesa's in Phoenix. Breeze is in Salt Lake City. Allegiant's in Las Vegas. Frontier's in Denver. Alaska's in Seattle. And then, yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. I will do that, and for the next broadcast, I'll share that master list. Good call. Thank you for that. Yep. So you're watching Flight Dispatching Live here, and this is a new program that I'm doing. Try it out, see if I can answer more questions, because I do get a lot of questions for people on Instagram and also YouTube. So I figured this might be a better way to answer questions, but also show you like really what we do as a job. So for example, granted this is Flight Radar and I don't have any of the proprietary software that the airlines have, right? But if it runs a similar style where I'm looking at airspace to see how is the airspace looking, are we going to run into any issues? So we plan for weather, right? So we look at the radar, and then we'll also, the cities we're planning to take off, we're going to look at the forecast. So that's called a TAF, or a terminal area forecast. So we'll go to the GFA tool here and then look at possibility for convective activity. What we call convective activity is thunderstorms. Yeah, D Beast, it sucks. I was kicked out of school. Yeah, because I didn't have a job. They said I couldn't attend the professional program, and that was like a week before school started, so they just refunded me the money. But yeah, me too. The the yeah, flight following, good question. So the as we look at the national airspace status, things are looking good. Um, it really depends as far as people who work at regionals versus. Uh, I know people who've worked 6 months at regionals and then have gone straight to mainline airlines like Southwest or American. So it really all depends. It's a obviously there's only a certain number of positions, so that it's really competitive. And so it's just, how well you do. A lot of the major airlines have practical tests on your dispatch knowledge that are typically written. And then, you may go through an interview process on that. So you kind of need to know your core foundational stuff on regional before you move on to mainline. But yeah, I've seen people upgrade in 6 months to a year to a mainline airline, which is pretty fast. It used to be a lot longer than that. So we'll look at, while we're talking about like daily responsibilities, we'll look at not only the radar system, but also what are the weather conditions. So let me go to the TAF. I meant to go not to the GFA, but the TAF. So let's say I have a flight going from uh, Chicago to Denver. So I'm going to type in KORD. Whoops, not Lord. KORD and KDEN, the airport codes. And I'm going to include see, autocorrect is being stupid. All right, so we're going to look at the forecast, right? So that's part of the rules that we look at to see if an alternate is required. So I'll zoom in a little bit further on that so you can get a nice look at that. But we'll look at the forecast, see if there's any conditions that would necessitate an alternate, right? And so one of the major rules we have is what's called the 1-2-3 rule. So 1 hour before or after the scheduled arrival of the flight, do we have less than 3 statute miles of visibility, less than 2,000 foot ceilings? And if either one of those conditions are met, then we are required to put on an alternate. So how much can you expect to make annually for a dispatcher with 5 years experience? Oh, that's a good question. All right. Well, they're all good questions, so I'll stop saying that because I'm sure that's probably annoying. But as we go back to, let's go back to my app here on the flight radar. Typically, I would estimate anywhere from mid-20s. I would say mid-20s per hour with opportunities for overtime. Envoy is really good because they pay double time for overtime. But Dallas is expensive, so it's kind of a give or take. So I would say mid-20s per hour. Nice, D-Beast. Very good. Congratulations, my friend. That is awesome. Practical. Very good. When I think I had my practical, it was like 4 hours. So each inspector is different. Each examiner is different on the things they want you to know and test your knowledge on. Josh, hey, that's great. Well, first off, you need to ask Morgan that question because he's always got some excuse. I'm willing to sacrifice and make time for videos, but he's like, oh, I don't know. My wife says I can't do this day, and then my baby pooped, so I have to deal with that, or I'm really tired. And so I would love to make another video with Morgan. Morgan's my bud, He's probably one of my best friends. So I have a best friend that's, a pilot, First Officer Mark, and then Morgan, a dispatcher. And they're two of my best friends. But Josh, I tell you what, I would love to do another video with him, but what are you going to do? So, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. All right, so again, not too much action going on here, which is actually good. Maybe we'll get some dispatchers to tune in as well, since it's a quiet night, mostly in the airspace system. Had a little bit of convective activity out west here, but nothing too significant. A couple of isolated cells right here in Utah, eastern Utah, but not too much convective activity. You know, I may have to go with the platinum plan if we're going to do the flight dispatcher live here. So going back to delays, you know, as we take a look here, any major programs right now, we do not have any issues right now. Reroutes, do we have any reroutes? Really nothing here going on. Things are looking good. So that's something we look at too if we're planning a flight. So, yeah. This is kind of cool. So hopefully by doing this show more often, I can answer a lot more flight dispatcher questions, which will make things easier. Of course, I'm going to do live streaming as well because I love doing that. That's my thing. So I should be in Salt Lake tomorrow at Salt Lake International Airport. But yeah, I'm Pip here at the library in Ogden. Sometimes, yes. Flight following, yeah, sometimes they do offer incentives. There sometimes is shift differential, what's called shift differential. So if you work like a graveyard shift, you may get a premium, like 75 cents per hour. And then I haven't seen it that's not true. I've seen rare occasions where they're short-staffed and they'll offer like a flat rate. But typically, most of the things are all regulated because they're in the contract. So they have to abide by the contract because most dispatchers are in unions. So typically those rates are set. But yeah, in the contract I've seen, not for Envoy per se when we had our contract, but I know Frontier offers a differential. Some other airlines offer a differential for graveyards. There was one recently, or maybe no, that was the last job I worked. But yeah, most airlines, when you get in there, you're going to already know what you're going to be making. Your progression for the next couple of years, you already know what you're going to make. And you also know what you're going to, you know, any premiums you might get. Yeah, Josh, good question. So what I always, the knowledge test, if you got the green book, I would study the green book, so the ADX examination, the green book, and also the basic rules, so like that come from the FARs, so from the Federal Aviation regulations, the FARs. Because they'll ask you probably on the knowledge test about the 1, 2, 3 rule, how many flight attendants are needed, things like that. Your basic reading of a METAR, your basic reading of TAF. There were 1 or 2 questions on the weight and balance, but most of that stuff is actually done for you by computer now. But there will be a few questions on that. But I would stick to the green book because a lot of those questions that you'll see will be repeated on the test, or almost. So I would study the green book. I would also study on basic knowledge of weather, like what are the 3 ingredients for a thunderstorm, reading a METAR, reading a TAF, basic rules, knowing your FARs that you've discussed already. That's huge. That's a huge thing. So the inspector's running an average of 10 to 12 hours. Wow, that's quite an inspection. My comp check, though, actually ran 2 days when I was first checked out at Envoy, so that might do it. Yeah. No, I mean, the exam For me, each person is different. Uh, Flight following, as far as passing the ADX written before starting school, the exam is going to be part of school. At least how it was for me in IFOD. So you're going to have a a minimum number of classroom hours, right? Or study hours. You're going to have a minimum number, the written test and the practical or oral exam. So, yep, great questions. Keep them coming. This is great. So we take a look at look at the weather here in the Caribbean. I always go to my app. If the National Weather Service could create an app too for Aviation Weather Center, that would be dope. So, yeah, that's what I would say. So again, looking at things here, how about in the East Coast? As we zoom in along East Coast here, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, all looking great. Number one rule in dispatching, I always tell people when I would train them, don't touch New York Center if you're planning a flight. Unless it goes into New York Center, don't touch New York Center. That's the number one rule of flight dispatching, I always say. Don't touch New York Center unless you need to. So. Flight following, I would say probably low 20s, like with inflation and going on here in the United States, I would say you're probably 21, call it 20 to 23 per hour, 20 to $23 per hour in the United States. So, and yeah, it depends a little bit on locality. And of course, most of them are under union contracts, so that's going to be negotiated in advance. But this is some of the stuff we look at. We look at airspace, patterns and things like that. But yeah, 20 to 23 would be maybe a little bit higher than that, but I would budget for 20 to 23 per hour. Honestly, it's a really good night. Not a lot to talk about as far as airspace wise, but that's okay. We can talk about other things. So, yeah, Salt Lake's got some precip. Seattle, let's take a look at Seattle. What's the current conditions here in Seattle? You ever notice that Boeing Field is right to the north of Seattle? I always get concerned when it's low fog that a plane might mistakenly land at BFI by mistake. They're like, whoops. So Seattle's looking good. Overcast, 70 degrees. Let's take a look at the latest METAR here as we zoom in. 10 statute miles, few clouds at 3,500, so we do not need an alternate, which is good. Yeah, alternate are unions. Off the top of my head, and it's not everyone, but as far as regionals, Republic has a union, Envoy, PSA, let's see, SkyWest does not. I don't think Connect Air doesn't because they haven't started flying. Endeavor up in Minneapolis, they actually voted out of the union. So keep that in mind. As we zoom back out here, take a look at the North America. Looking good. So those are the regionals I know offhand personally. I can't speak for the other ones. Mainline, pretty much every mainline except for Breeze has a union. So literally everybody but Breeze has a union. So JetBlue, no, is JetBlue? No, JetBlue's an exception too. Excuse me. So JetBlue and Breeze are not union for dispatching. But I know American, United, Southwest, Alaska, Hawaiian, UPS. I don't think FedEx is, but I can't speak to that. Spirit, I know. So I would say the vast majority of both regional and mainline are union based. Question is, how long did you wait from graduating aviation dispatch? Excellent question. As we take a look, see if anything's changed in the National Airspace System. Again, a great night. Things looking good. Let's go to the Aviation Weather Center homepage. Most of the convective stuff has really died down in the west, so it's, again, pretty quiet night. All right, so Flight Following wants to know, how long did you wait before I got a job offer? Well, I got my license in March of 2018. And then I started applying for jobs. I applied at SkyWest, got a video interview, but didn't make the cut. So applied at SkyWest, applied at Republic, and then I applied at a supplemental 121 carrier called Swift Air out in Greensboro, which is now iAero. ERB, hey, we're doing a flight dispatcher live. We're talking about flight dispatching and doing a show based looking at the national air system, or the National Airspace System. It's a quiet night, so not a ton to talk about, but there'll be those days where we have thunderstorms or snow, and it'll get exciting. So going back to your question, Flight Following, Swift Air, now known as iAero, they offered me a job, and that was probably about a month afterwards. And to be honest, I wish I had taken the Republic job because they offered an interview. It paid a little less, though, so I think I was more about the money. So, oh, okay, I will. Let's see if we got that link there. Stand by. I will look for that link. Appreciate it, D-Beast. Yeah, it is in a nice subject, ERB. I know it's... Oh, and by the way, I'll get back hopefully to plane spotting tomorrow. And I may hang out around here, so where I'm at... yeah, I don't see a link... Josh, I would love to. Just tell me when. Actually, you know what's funny is I may actually be doing that. So keep posted for that because I might be in Hawaii in a month. So keep posted on that. Yeah, DB, if you want to copy that link and send that again, we'd appreciate it. So I appreciate that. Now I know... But Honolulu would be awesome. And then I would probably go to the different islands as well. I would, hey, I'd like to be the plane spotting king. You know, I just love aviation. So, yeah. Sounds fantastic, Josh. Would love to. Absolutely. I will. This is the first episode we've done Flight Dispatching Live. So this is an opportunity for you to answer your questions. To talk about the National Airspace System. If you're a dispatcher, feel free to say hi and let me know if you're running into any issues on the airspace system. But looking tonight, looks pretty nice night. All right. All right, I'll keep an eye. Okay, D-Beast, thanks, man. And D-Beast, actually, you know what? Do me one other thing. I'm going to give you my email here. And send me that link as well, because I will post that up as well. So I appreciate that if you can do that. Really appreciate it. Great questions, guys. And it's an exciting night. First ever episode. I'm trying to talk quietly because I'm in a library. So that's why I'm talking so quietly, ERB and everybody else. But, yeah, so right now... in Chicago. Oh my goodness. That's crazy, ERB. Tell you, once in a while there's always somebody who thinks they're better. That's crazy. You know what? Another thing, um, question was, what should I be studying? Also, you need to know UTC time. So you need to know what happens when daylight savings time goes into effect in the United States, and um, because UTC time it stays the same, but your actual time locally changes, right? So let's talk about that for a second. Um, so in the flight world, we use UTC time, right? Because the time is the same no matter where you are in the world. In fact, let's show you an example. Let's see if it'll. Let me pull up my home airport here in Salt Lake City. All right, so it's 6:54. So the last METAR should be coming up. So 5:54. So at 7 o'clock it goes 00, or excuse me, yeah. 6 o'clock it goes 00 Zulu. So we are 5 hours. 5 hours. No, 6 hours. I'm sorry, guys. 6 hours behind UTC Greenwich Mean Time. So GMT or UTC. So that's the cool thing about UTC time, is it stays the same no matter where you are. Thank you, ERB. Yep. ERB's down in Porto Alegre, Brazil. That's pretty cool. In fact, let me go back to this National Airspace System. So this is kind of a cool chart. If you want to know the likelihood of your flight being delayed at some of the busier airports, you can sometimes go to this and kind of just like guess. So for example, where was Chicago? Well, we'll just go with DFW. So right now it's just hot in DFW. 9:55. Thank you, ERB. So it's 6:55 here Mountain Time. So ERB's ahead of us by 3 hours, which would make sense because remember we talked about how if he's 3 hours behind UTC time, that makes me 6. So, yep, we're +6 and then +7 during daylight savings time. And thanks for everybody for liking the video. I know this isn't the most exciting, but I thought this was a great way, while I had some free time, to answer questions, to talk about the job of flight dispatcher, and to talk more about airspace. But flight following has a question. Do flight followers make less than dispatchers? Okay, cool. Thank you, DBeast. Appreciate that, man. Very appreciated. I will check it out right now. So, not necessarily, I would say as a rule, the more you get into dispatching, the more you'll make. So when I started out as a flight follower, I made more than I was salaried, but I made more than dispatchers to start off with. But then as things went on, I made way more. All right, so. All right, so DBeast, I got it. That's awesome. Is it all right if I just put the Google Sheets link up there? Is that cool? Copy that up there and put it in. So yeah, I would say is the longer you go as a flight dispatcher, the more money you'll make over a flight follower. But you also don't have the responsibility. But I kind of wanted that. So my first job was with Swift Air as a flight follower. So I wanted that responsibility, and that's one of the reasons I want to go to a 121. Plus the flight benefits. I'm not gonna lie. You know, working at Envoy's owned by Americans, so you fly anywhere American goes. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, cool. DBeast, I'll put that link up there right now. So DBeast was kind enough to share a link of current pay. So let's see if that works for everybody. It's on a Google spreadsheet. So I'll click it first here, see if that works out. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it seemed to work pretty good. So I got it. But thank you for that. So yeah, again, welcome in. This is the first episode of Pip's Flight Dispatching Live from an undisclosed library in Utah. And here to help answer questions. But, and also talk about the National Airspace System. It's a quiet night in the National Airspace System, as we can see. Not too much precipitation. We zoom in. Got the remnants of the tropical storm, Hillary, kind of up here in Salt Lake City. Okay, cool. DBeast, really appreciate that. That's perfect. It's exactly what we need. Perfect. And in fact, I'll put that in the channel page in the future for all new broadcasting episodes. Okay, very cool. It's a good instructor right there. So yeah, looking at the National Airspace System, things are pretty quiet. And if you're just tuning in, thank you so much. Give this video a like if you enjoy it. Weather's crazy down here. It's 83 degrees, and for the weekend it's forecasted at 39. Sounds like springtime, right? Almost springtime in the southern hemisphere. Wouldn't you say, ERB? See how the busiest airport in the world is doing. Looks like they've got a west flow. Yep, it's true, DBeast. Morgan, our good friend from some of the videos, yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah, United's up in the 90s, Delta's up there, American is still negotiating, I think. I haven't heard anything if their new contract is done from any of my friends over at American. So I think they're waiting on that. Yep, spring is just around the corner for the southern hemisphere. And fall is just around the corner for us in the northern hemisphere, which is why I want to hopefully get to Alaska soon. Yeah, but if we zoom in on Atlanta Hartsfield, 5 miles to the south and west, things are looking good. No weather issues. Things looking good. I'll probably broadcast for another hour or so. If anybody else wants to tune in, has questions. Yeah. So if you do a good job, eventually you'll, there are times like during COVID, people were furloughed. And then there are times where, they can't get enough dispatchers. So that's kind of the give or take of being a pilot and being a dispatcher or anything in a union position. So some people did get furloughed during COVID and then were brought back. Let's look at Nashville. Seeing if there's anything happening there in Nashville. Looks good as we zoom out and go up to Minneapolis. My Johnny Swaps, our old friend Johnny Swaps, is lived in Minneapolis, and my friend Parker up there. Things looking good. Record highs though in Minneapolis. Look at that. 97 degrees. 97 degrees in Minneapolis. Pretty crazy. Good thing they have long runways up there. I'm sure they were not expecting that. But clear skies. And if you're just tuning in, this is Flight Dispatching Live. If you have a question about flight dispatching, feel free to ask it. I am Pip, here to help. Look at some of our Los Angeles departures coming up over Salt Lake City. Even got a couple of balloons up in Idaho right here. And I hope I'm not making you dizzy, but things pretty quiet here in the airspace. This is only the first episode. Yep, that DBs, that sounds just about right. Yeah, I would not be surprised. Yeah, that's accurate. I know people, a lot of people, 6 to 8 months or a year, who get taken to the promised land. That's right. That's a good way of putting it. It's funny, but it's true, actually. It is totally true. Oh yeah, Vella's in Houston too. That's right. So good job, DBs. Thanks for sharing that. That was a good one. It looks familiar though. I've seen that before. Speaking of Minneapolis, I guess I should have mentioned Endeavor would be good. Delta has good flight benefits, and that would get you an in on going to Atlanta for Delta for sure. Yeah, but it was awesome to see that not only is Aer Lingus coming back next year to Minneapolis, their Aer Lingus is also flying to Denver. So, yeah. DFW plane spotters back in the house. No, I am not from Salt Lake City. I did have to relocate. So when I went and worked at Breeze, and most, if not all, airlines will not pay relocation. There are a few exceptions, but typically, especially ones that are union, there's no relocation assistance. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, so I had to relocate from Dallas because I was working at Envoy at the time. And then I took the job at Breeze and went to Salt Lake City. So I worked there for a year and a half, and yeah. So most times, yeah, you're going to need to pay for relocation. So just keep that in mind. Oh, what is next for? I don't know. TBs, is this a good broadcast? Should I do more of these? So if people have questions. Hopefully, Josh invited me to go to Hawaii, so I'll definitely have to consider that. Actually, what's next is, I don't know, but United called me back for an interview for flight dispatching, so I'm actually going to fly out to Chicago next week and do an assessment, and then if I pass the assessment, do an interview the same day. Well, cool. Thank you, D Beast. Hopefully it'll catch on. and other people in classes can maybe join in, and we can all answer questions and help them out as best I can. So, because I do, so I'm working off of my iPad. It's kind of cool. So I can do like telestrating and whatnot. Um, and I'm using the Apple Pen right now, but I can do telestrating, and maybe that might help as well. So, where work in Hawaii? What? DFW plane spotters, you got your license today? Wow, that's crazy to think. Somebody in Class G airspace. Crazy. Oh, you know what? That's another thing to study. Airspace. I never get it right. There's what, seven different, and the diagram is confusing. I finally got it after like 2 or 3 years, but at first I just could not comprehend the airspace. And that's more so for air traffic control than flight dispatching, but it's important to know because there are sometimes restrictions on which airspace you can fly into. Well, I'm glad you get it, DFW. You sound like a pilot, full of himself, never admitting he's wrong. That's right, ERB. Congrats. That's a big deal. Yeah, so D Beast, get an interview with United next week, and then hopefully continuing the live streaming thing, both with this episode, but also more plane spotting. So I just like to point this out. I know there's not a lot of people tuning in, but if I did my math, I now have videos at over 40 airports, which I think is pretty cool. Due to crime? Well, thankfully, typically most crime is in the same area, so I just avoid those areas because I actually grew up in Chicago. I remember that DFW. Yeah, actually, the other thing too, D Beast, is United moved their operations center out to Arlington Heights, so a suburb of Chicago out west. So they did that in the last year, and people keep saying that United's going to move its headquarters to Denver, which is a possibility. There is a lot of land out by the airport, that's for sure, in Denver. So that is a fact. In fact, if we looked at zoom in on Denver International, you can just kind of see, you can tell. So there's the metropolis. There's metropolitan Denver, right? Kind of around the belt there. But out where Denver is, there's like nothing. Just all flatlands. So, yep. And I grew up in the Chicago area, DB, so may have to consider that. But and like I said, out of the job, out of school, so we'll see. I have to see, and the other thing is, I've got to make sure that I know my stuff. So I've got to review for tests. So that's the other thing. Yeah, there's Denver right now. Wonder if you can see right there, they're doing 3 arrivals. Denver is like the new super airport because they have three airlines that have hubs or focus cities, right? Because it's United, Frontier, and Southwest. And then Aer Lingus is coming. Aer Lingus. So going back to radar, things looking good. We got partly sunny skies here in Salt Lake as kind of the Precipitation has died down here. Salt Lake City. Overcast, winds out of the south. So last METAR reported 7 o'clock local, winds out of the southeast. So to get you started on Denver Airport. Why is that? And so Salt Lake's got 10 statute miles of visibility. Looking at my where I grew up. See, I grew up right here in Naperville. That's where I grew up. Just outside of Chicago, about 30 minutes west. And then ever since college, I've kind of been on all over. Haha, the conspiracy theories. Denver is definitely full of them. You're right, at flight following, F and G is only for fun stuff. But you know what? The fun stuff, I live right by Hill Air Force Base, so if you've seen a couple of those videos, there'll definitely be more videos and more photos. So it's been kind of fun to check out military aircraft. Yeah, Naperville is pretty nice. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I have a sister who still lives there, but we'll see. It's really like being a flight dispatcher is like playing in the minor leagues when you start out, because you don't make much money, right? And then you get the call up to the majors, to one of the major airlines, and then you're set. As long as you pass probation and don't have any furloughs, then things are set. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but I have to point this out because this is cool to talk about to me. If we look at here in the evening, a lot of the Atlantic routes, the AR routes, are now going to the east. So they arrive in the morning or midday in Europe. You ever noticed how they're specifically curved for a reason? It's because the shortest distance between 2 points in a globe or circle is a curved line, right? Can I tell you why I left Breeze Airways? Well, I won't go into a lot of detail, but I'll tell you that they gave me an option to either be fired or to resign. So I chose to resign. There was other stuff that was going on, and I kind of regret that. I regret that. I won't go into specifics, but yeah, because I miss flight dispatching so much. It's a great career for me. I'd also like to start my own airline, but that's a little further down the road. But I think it's pretty awesome that people, think about this. In the globe, in the Earth, it's a globe, a cylindrical. So the shortest distance between 2 points is a curved line, which is, I think, always fascinating. That's why, if you look up here in the polar regions, like a lot of the long flights, the Asia to United States, they travel in the polar regions because they'll come up from Asia and they'll come up to Alaska and come down into Seattle or Chicago, right? From Japan or Korea. That's all right. It happens. Riverside to London, Royal Air Force. Huh. So check that out, yeah. Check out their route. They're going way up north towards Greenland and then down into London. I think that illustrates kind of the curved line principle. Let's check that out. So Calgary to Frankfurt. There's another example. Obviously, you take into account the winds and things that go with it, but that's the difference. So, again, looking at the northwest, overcast, but looking good both in Vancouver and Seattle. So here we are. If you're just tuning in, this is Flight Dispatching Live. We're here to talk about dispatching, your questions about dispatching, and if you are watching at the airport, perhaps maybe I can help answer a question on why your flight is delayed and how long it might be delayed. Because sometimes, as a flight dispatcher, you know that stuff. So, oh, he was Compass. Oh, well, then he probably knows Johnny. If you just say the name Johnny Swaps, see if he knows that. So, yeah, it's a great job, but instructing is pretty cool. Ooh, which ADX school do I recommend? That is a great question. Well, I'm always partial to IFOD in Dallas because that's where I got my license, but there are a lot of great schools. Some colleges offer dispatch as part of your program, your dispatch license as part of your bachelor's program. Others offer it as a technical school, like a technical certificate, like IFOD in Dallas. Sheffield in Florida is really good. Jepson in Denver, I know people from there. ATP, so it really just kind of depends. DB says North American Flight Control is awesome. There you go. My personal recommendation, because I know several people have gone through that program. In fact, Infidel Fireman, who you'll often see on our chats, went to school there and had a great experience and is now working in the 121 world. So just based on my experience, IFOD's really good. So I would, unless things have changed, and I still hear from people who go, say, hey, IFOD was awesome, or they would tell me if it was awful. So IFOD in Dallas is pretty good. It's actually in Irving, Texas, but sounds like DB's has North American Flight Control. So sounds like a great school to me too. So that's my recommendation. I would typically go in Dallas when it's like not 100 degrees, so in the fall or winter. But there are a lot of great schools. I know dispatchers, like I said, who went to ATP, Sheffield. Who got their degree, who got their certificate while getting their degree in school. So it depends where you're at in your career and your age. So there's a lot of options. IFOD. Yeah, IFOD, India Foxtrot Oscar Delta. So, yeah. Let's take a look at our TAF, see if anything changes in the airspace status. Oh, Miami. We got a departure delay of 15 minutes and increasing due to thunderstorms. So let's go back to the radar. Let's see what we got. Let's go down to Miami. That was my zoom in. So there you go. You got precip right off the border, right? Right off the border, right off the coast. So there's Miami. If you see that zoomed in as we close this out and zoom in, you get arrivals from the west, departures to the east that might encounter that cell right there off the coast. So let's keep an eye on what this guy does. Miami to London. Oh, an American. So this will be a good example of what they might do, what ATC might do. Let's see where that guy goes. If he gets a hard left to go north, or if he'll go south, or whatnot. So it doesn't look like a major issue, but hey, we got a departure delay. Not, I would say probably departure 15 to 30 minutes at most. Yep, so it looks like it got a hard left turn on the coast to avoid that cell. And we'll probably go up the coast as well because they like to, Florida ATC likes to, as a general rule, split things. Either nothing in the middle, all on the coast. So as you can kind of see there, as we zoom out to see the state, you notice that with the exception of Orlando and Tampa, as a general rule, they like to have flying along the coast and not a whole lot in the center. So, but yeah, that American flight, look at that. It's going an immediate left turn. So there you go. Trying to avoid the weather. So ATC will space out planes further due to weather so that not only they can keep a better close eye on what's going on, but also it's safe. So good recommendation by DFW plane spotters. 200, bad. 300, good. Flown in a 200, it was okay. Have not flown in a 300 before. Also flown in a Dreamliner, American Dreamliner. That was nice. And then a Neo and an A330-300. Neo was, of course, a little nicer. So that Miami cell right there off the coast, creating slight departure delays, but it looks like everybody coming in from the west is good. If you're coming down to Miami, you're probably going to get routed inland, right? Like this guy right here. He's going to Fort Lauderdale. Oh, there you go. There's a good example. Dulles to Fort Lauderdale. So they're staying out of the weather, but the departures is the issue. Amazing. Amazing DFW. Sounds about right. Thank you for confirming my knowledge. So I hope part of this too is the flight dispatching live, that we can answer questions and help, because there are a lot of smarter people than me, and dispatchers, they can either be super chaotic busy or super slow. So hopefully we'll get some tune in as well. But going back here, let's see if we have any other issues. We'll go back to the web page here. It automatically refreshes, which is nice. So there you go. So departure runway 8 left, 8 right. Arrival runway 8 left and 9. So going off to the east. So any reroutes associated with that? Nope. Just volume routes. So the Northeast, that's the usual stuff. They have specific routes. So I will answer that question. I don't know. Southwest is dark, and they have purple lights. I know that much. But I don't know, so I'll have to tell you next week when I go D-Beast. Envoy has normal lighting. When I was at Breeze, I tried to do normal or dim lighting as well. But Southwest is like dim lighting as well, too. Because we deal with computers for 10 hours a day, right? Let's click on restrictions, no restrictions. And if you know any of your friends in class who have questions about dispatching, encourage them to tell them about me. And the stream, we'll probably do another episode. Should do one next week, maybe. Yeah, probably next week would work. So I'll definitely have to do that. Oh, they give you a tour? That's pretty awesome. Now that is really cool. Very cool, D-Beast. The Endeavor cool. Yeah, I bet it was. because they actually have real equipment as opposed to my laptop and my iPad. So it's a little bit better. We look at the demand for DFW going into the night. So we have close to 70 arrivals, almost 70. This is my favorite. So in the morning, so 1300 Zulu, 76 arrivals, 74 departing. That's a lot. It's a lot. So something to keep in mind. That's another thing, like when you're dispatching, you got to figure out how much taxi fuel to put on because some airports are super congested. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, I encourage you to like and subscribe. Thanks for everybody tuning in. This first episode, Flight Dispatching Live. So hopefully we can even make it better each time we go and explain things. LaGuardia. I like how you put LaGuardia. Best hub. Oh man. God. That can mean totally different things. When you say best hub, you mean like best operationally? Or you mean like best things to do? Or best... So... Or overall that you like the most? So that's a good question. And if you have questions about dispatching or aviation, if you're tuning in, yeah, feel free to ask. Seattle or San Francisco? Well, I disagree with you on Seattle because there's not a lot of great spots in my opinion, especially if it's south flow, because there's a huge... Seattle's built on a ridge, so the airport is built on a ridge and the road goes down below that ridge, so you can't see the runway at all if they're arriving from the south. So I'm sorry, DFW, I disagree with you. San Francisco, yes, as far as plane spotting goes. Yeah, I would say the best hub operationally wise would be Salt Lake City, because there's rarely ever thunderstorms here in the summertime. So they only have to worry about snow. And snow is like, snow is snow. Atlanta's pretty good, it's pretty strong too. Gotcha. Yeah, I would definitely probably say Salt Lake City for Delta, because there's no major cities around them for 300 or 400 miles. Yeah, because this rain is the exception. So as we zoom in on Salt Lake City here, this is really... I'll go back to the app version. I mean, this is the exception. We had a ton of snow last year, but it really wasn't that bad. So Salt Lake, it's like Delta's little secret. ERBM in the library, so yes, they're kids. Yeah. Yep. I do, as you can see, the headset's on. And I think it's that kid's bedtime, so... So I would say Salt Lake City, they have 3 runways. and they have runways on each side of the terminal. So ATC can route the departures that are going to the west to the western runway, and the ones that are going to the east to the eastern runway. And then they have a third runway that's general aviation. So that's one. Number two is, for being a hub, it's not like a massive hub like Atlanta or Chicago or DFW. They maybe will get 26 million passengers a year. Every day, man. Every day, D-Beast. Every day. So yeah, comparison, like Salt Lake City maybe gets 27 million passengers a year. Comparison. Okay, let's run some of the numbers. Charlotte gets like double, almost double that, like mid 40 million, probably 45, 50 million. Denver's at 70, and DFW's at 70. Los Angeles is approaching 100 million passengers. Seattle has fog, has rain, has to deal with being far from everybody else. So, and they are like in the mid 40s, 50. I do get emotional. Chicago is 70 million, 75, 80 million. And then New York is just a mess. Like, I don't know what David Neilman was thinking. I know what he was thinking, but just the airspace along the East Coast is awful. What's my number one rule about dispatching? Don't touch New York Center. So, yeah, anything on the East Coast is just not good. You'll always run into issues, whether it's like mechanical issues or weather issues or congestion issues. So, Salt Lake sleepy? It is. Yep, that's what Charles Barkley said. Man, Salt Lake's just boring. There's nothing there. That's my Charles Barkley impression. But seriously, look at this. You got like 25 of the busiest top 30 airports in, they'll make that 7 within 300 miles of each other. So 7 of the top 30 busiest airports in America are, in this 300 miles stretch. So you've got Dulles, then Reagan, actually 8 if you count BWI, right? Baltimore, then up to Philly, right? Then you get into New York, so you've got Newark, LaGuardia, right? LaGuardia's right here. That's New York LaGuardia up north. And then down south here in Jamaica is JFK. And then over here is Newark. So United Hub, LaGuardia is a Delta and American hub. JFK is a Delta, I guess you could say, an American hub, and JetBlue. And then you go up the coast, and you've got Boston, which is a Delta focus city and everything. MSP does have very good, they don't get a ton of thunderstorms either. The biggest thing is cold. I would agree with that, and snow. So yeah. Chaotic Bean, what's up, man? I'm trying something different. Flight dispatching live, so we can talk about flight dispatching. Hopefully, yeah, exactly. 30 minutes of hold anywhere in that area. We're talking about flight dispatching, so we can help answer some questions and hopefully get in touch with some dispatchers too when they're having a boring night. Get them involved and answer questions. So I've been meaning to do this for a while, in fact, answering questions and talking about flight dispatching more as we take a look at the airspace system. Really not a lot of weather across the United States. But yeah, that was one of the things. And thank you for the like, by the way. So I wanted to do this, and so I'm glad I was able to get it off the ground. And since I didn't get into school, or they kicked me out, I like to say kick out because they said you just didn't meet the requirements for the program because you were unemployed. So I like to say get kicked out. So now I have this extra time, so I figured I'd do this, and then hopefully I'll be back on the air tomorrow, plane spotting from Salt Lake City, because I think I have a working hotspot now. So, but good call, Chaotic Being. 30 minutes of hold anywhere on the East Coast. Do you know what's crazy? Okay, so let me give you a perfect example. Not been to Oshkosh yet, and DBeast, I definitely thought about it this past because I was actually in Chicago when Oshkosh was going on, the beginning of it. So I flew in on a Tuesday. The EAA started on Saturday, I want to say. And I was just, kind of concerned about traffic and whatnot because I figured it was a good way to market myself, but I just wasn't super prepared and whatnot. So that's kind of why I didn't go to Oshkosh, but it is on the once I get a stable job or get things squared away here. But yeah, Oshkosh is on the list. The Paris Air Show for sure, and Farnborough in England. Farnborough Air Show is definitely on the list of places to go. So yeah. Oh, fly following, you went this year? There was like some thunderstorms, I think, one day that kind of messed things up, and I was like, I'm gonna pass on that. So, because I was in Chicago at the time, so I really could have gone, and I didn't. So next year I'll do more planning because if I went up to Oshkosh, I'd like to have some cards to give to people so that they can tune in, right, to my YouTube channel, and also if they have questions. So, yeah. Ah, that's the worst part. Fly following. Yeah, not a fun thing. Yeah, thunderstorms every day and every night. Yeah, it was humid that week too. It was definitely humid. Oh, and the other thing too that week I was doing my trip across the Midwest where I went to Grand Rapids and then Detroit, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. Yeah, it's I've noticed that too. I think they're trying to clear up airspace there, chaotic being like stop using this airport because people are just coming into the airport without prior permission and it's messing up things. So, yeah, closed to non-scheduled transient general aviation aircraft except prior permission, PPR. Oh man, that's crazy, D Beast. Nope. Avis says I have a last minute deal. Yeah, that was not the best part of the show of the week. The Fort Worth, I want to say Fort Worth Alliance Air Show is in October, but they might have canceled that. Yes, I did. I did see the email ERB. Oh, you know what? Um, Thank you for bringing that to my attention because, give me a second here, guys. I started a Facebook page and I'll see if it works. Stand by. I don't know if it's a group. Um, I hope. I'm trying to create a public page for everybody to be able to post. So I thought I created the group. Dang it. Apologies. But yeah, I'm trying to create a page so we can all post our pictures and videos on there, ERB. So if you have Facebook, of course, not everybody has Facebook, but if you did, I figured that would be a cool way that we could share. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. And I sincerely mean that because I didn't know what we would get. You know, now you can let some of your fellow students and friends who are in flight dispatching know, or if you're in dispatching, tune in. Probably do another episode next week. Tomorrow I'll probably be back on in Salt Lake City, so thanks to everybody for that. But yeah, that was a sad crash. ERB. I'll put the link to the story up here. Yeah, 4 people died in 2 separate crashes. So yeah, it's not the best thing. So yeah, I know. Sometimes for people in Facebook, it's either use it all the time or hardly use it. It's true. So we'll sign off here in the next 15 minutes, get me something to eat, go to bed, and then get up, head down to Salt Lake City, see what the weather is for Salt Lake City tomorrow. Or the forecast. Let's check the forecast. That would be good, Pip. So we'll go back to Aviation Weather Center. Check out the TAFs, because that's what we do as dispatchers. We check out the TAFs. Also, if you're going plane spotting, it's a good idea to check out the TAFs anyways, because then you know which runway the planes are going to be landing on. Because they depends on the winds, right? Yeah, I did see the Van Nuys crash too. So let's take a look at Salt Lake City. All right, so looking at the forecast, looks pretty good for tomorrow for Pip's Plane Spotting Live. Hopefully the hotspot. I haven't tested it at the airport, and I bought it brand new, but I'm very superstitious, so I'll try and get there early. Forecast tomorrow looks good. Another south wind day, which isn't the best for plane spotting, but we'll take what we can get. At least there's no significant rain expected in the forecast. Looks like we do have considerable cloudiness, but nothing too menacing tomorrow. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is Pip's Flight Dispatching Live. I normally do Pip's Plane Spotting Live, but I figured this is a great way to answer questions about flight dispatching, to talk about the airspace system live. And if people have questions, if they're sitting at the airport, why their flight is delayed, perhaps we can collectively help answer those questions so they know. Because I know the airlines don't always give out all the answers right away, right? So. But if you do have a question and you want to email me, you can do so. Yeah, you can just email me at Pip's Plane Spotting Live, and that's both for anything aviation or flight dispatching related. Just feel free to email me, just like ERB does. He sends me great photos that I want to post. So that's why I'm trying to create the Facebook page. So I will be posting hopefully some more aircraft photos this evening, as well as maybe a video or two in 4K. So I live right by Hill Air Force Base, So far I've seen a C-130, a A-10 Warthog, a Viper, F-16, F-15, F-22, F-35. Is there anything else I'm missing? No. Pretty good variety. So it's really been cool. Jet Dispatcher, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in. Racing teams. Yes, that is true actually. There was a guy who bought Raising Canes to the dispatchers at Breeze all the time actually. It's one of the things I miss for sure. Raising Canes. What was the other thing? Yeah, that was the main thing. We seem to have a lot of cookies though in the IOCC. That was the other thing, cookies. A lot of cookies. Those are great. Hit you with a mock practical. Oh my gosh. DB's throwing it at me. All right. Let's see. The question is if winds are from 250 at 12 knots, what does that mean? This is a basic question, so don't overthink it. When I say wind is at 270 at 12 knots, what does that mean? That's the real question. Oh, all right, I'll hit you with a mock practical. After that one, we'll just type up a city and see if you can read the METAR. Let's do... All right, so now that flight following ruined it, so the wind direction is coming from, right, southwest, 240 degrees from the southwest at 12 knots, which is the speed it's coming at. So, nice job, flight following. You cannot answer this question, though, this next question, though. All right, if you look on the screen there, we'll zoom in. All right, so you see Chicago O'Hare right there. You see the TAF, but that first line is the METAR, which is the current conditions. So D-Beast 10. What is the current conditions at Chicago O'Hare? And I want you to type out what the time is. And I want you to type out. Yeah, excellent. Excellent, D-Beast. Good job. So last question. I want you to read that METAR, and this is only for D-Beast, for practice. Flight following, I can create questions for you too. So what is the METAR? What is the METAR saying? I want you to type out what it is. So give him a minute here. And while we're giving D-Beast a minute here, reminder, if you're new to the channel, I encourage you to like and subscribe. And also keep in mind that we'll be broadcasting from, well, if it's the South Flow tomorrow, probably going to have to do the garage unless I go to the west side. Chaotic Bean. Nope, D-Beast is going to answer this one. D-Beast, you have to answer. What is the METAR in Chicago saying right now? If you listen closely, you can actually hear the rumble of the fighter jets going overhead, because we're like literally a mile from the runway threshold for Hill Air Force Base. All right, D-Beast, I'm going to give you one more minute. 60 seconds. All right. 10 miles visibility. View at 3,500. All right, I'll accept that because I think you had a typo there. But you are correct. So well done, sir. So yeah, that is Chicago O'Hare recorded on the 23rd day at 051 Zulu with winds from the south-southeast, 160 at 7 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, few clouds at 3,500. Not 35,000. That's the only thing I'm going to correct you on. It's 3,500. If it was few at 35,000, it would be few 350, right? Because if you look down here, for example, if you look at the fourth line down on the TAF, it says scattered at 30,000. So, oh, freezing drizzle, light freezing drizzle. Flight following freezing drizzle. FZ, light freezing drizzle. I know, it's very contradictory. So, yeah, DB's the one thing I will correct you on. It's few at 3,500. So 3,500 feet. Thanks, Siri. Temperature's correct. Altimeter's correct. Dew point's correct. And you do have an automated weather observation. That is correct. So well done. Good job. Good job. Flight following, good question. Freezing, light freezing drizzle. Which, I hate that because they should just say, like, drizzle or whatever. But anyways, good job, guys. So, those are good. We'll practice those METAR questions because I need to know those too, right? Because I'm going interview for United next week. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Excellent job. We will do a stream next week. And once I figure out what time tomorrow, Salt Lake City, I'll let you guys know. Probably midday to afternoon. Because that way we'll catch some of the heavy departures going to Europe. A heavy funnel cloud? I did not see that METAR. That's outstanding. Thanks, Chaotic Bean. Yeah, I would say a heavy funnel cloud. Oh my gosh, that's outstanding. Thank you. Hey, Daniel, what's up, buddy? Yeah, absolutely. Flight following. We'll probably we'll do this like once a week to get started, and that way you have a week if you have classes or additional questions in studying, so it won't be every day and won't be overwhelming. So yeah, nice. Chaotic Bean. We can talk about that. Shoot me an email if you have any questions, and I will answer you directly. Yeah, ERB. Thanks for you're the best, man. Yeah, their pay is low for the area. I will wholeheartedly agree, and it used to be lower actually. So, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer you any and all questions about Breeze, and help you out that way. But ERB, yeah, man, it was nice. Thank you. And you know what makes it nice is great people like you and everyone else for tuning in. So this is the first show of Flight Dispatching Live. We'll do another episode next week. And if you have classmates, invite them along. If you know dispatchers, have them tune in. They can help answer. But overall, throughout the airspace, it's a good night here in the United States. Still have that little cell off the coast of Miami. So I'm glad, ERB. I hope for you know we do three things here at Pips Plane Spotting Live, or Pips Flight Dispatching Live, is we attempt to entertain, elevate, and educate about aviation. So there you can see Miami, see that little cell off the coast. And these are sea breeze thunderstorms, by the way, sea breeze So they'll come off the coast depending on which way the winds. Like if the winds come from the east, a lot of times you'll see thunderstorms come from off the coast. It's pretty interesting, especially during the August dog days of summertime and early September. So yeah, closing in on you, ERB. All right, well, make sure to have those windows closed. Oh yes, I was going to look at this real quick. So the airspace system. So yeah, it looks like they're still doing delayed departures out of Miami due to that little cell. Well, thank you, ERB. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Whatever I can do to help the flight dispatching and aviation careers for sure. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much to each one of you for tuning in. I'm here to answer questions and talk about aviation. Hopefully, you'll get better and better and go from there. But until tomorrow, we will talk to you tomorrow from Salt Lake City International Airport. Should be a good day for plane spotting. Hopefully, the winds won't be too strong, and I'll be able to catch you guys on the live stream tomorrow. I'll put out an announcement tomorrow morning on will probably be in the afternoon, so I would guess probably 3 o'clock. So I'll let you know. But in the meantime, everybody have a great evening wherever you are. Feel free to email me at pipsplainsspottinglive@gmail.com. But for now, I will say good night from the library. And thanks to the library for not kicking me out. And we'll do this again next week and look forward to seeing you guys then and on the stream tomorrow. For now, everybody have a great night, and thanks for tuning in to Pip's Flight Dispatching Live.